Oh man, can't wait to go to school today. Hopefully math class isn't that bad. We got our pen. We got our piece of paper. Let's learn. Let's learn.
Today, students, we're gonna learn how to use trigonometry to solve a triangle. Blah 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 blah. Okay, students, now that we taught you the lesson, yip yapper, yipper yapper, flip flop, fipper yap, fipper labber libber lap, yip yap, yip yap, yip 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 yap, yip yap, yip 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 yap, yip yap yip yip yap, yip yip yap, yip yip yap. Here's your test. Goodbye. Excuse me. What? Okay, students, before we start the test, I'm gonna rewind you on what sin, cos, and tan are. Teacher, can I have some help? I'm failing this class, bro. There's absolutely no way in 1,000 years that I'm gonna even possibly pass this exam. Oh no. Nah, what in the hell are you? No, I don't want none of this witchcraft.
Ready to learn, creator?
Take 13. Okay. We're gonna get this right this time. Okay. Today, guys, we're going to use our trig to teach you how to solve for a right triangle. Now, we're going to break this down, but we're going to also keep it short and simple. If you want a complete and breakdown, I would recommend some other videos that actually teach you the basics of trig and what it actually is. But for this, we're going to go over the basics of how to solve it, just in case you have a test or something else that you need to work on and you were just like me in the video. You were lacking and you accidentally dozed off. Now, first, you're going to want to draw a big triangle because I'm going to teach you. This is going to be your metagraphical vocabulary triangle. So you're going to have your triangle here, right? You're going to draw your 90-degree angle because it is a right triangle. Now, in this, you will never be solving for this. You will not solve. This is already solved for you as it is a right triangle. Now, you're going to put solvent in the middle. Now, Don, what does solvent mean? That means whatever you're solving is always going to be in here. This will be where your solvent is at. And that is either going to be placed here or that is going to be placed here. And that is what you're going to be plugging in with your equation. So, what is that going to look like? Tan, sin, and cos. So whatever is right here will always go these whenever you're plugging them in. Whether that be you have a measurement right here, 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 or measurement right here. Now, it's not always going to be the tan of x, not always going to be the sin of x, not always going to be the cos of x. Sometimes x will end up on these sides depending on where it is. If x is outside of here, you will not be solving for x. You are going to be solving for what is in here. And usually there will only be one measurement, so it will stick out like a sore thumb. Now, this is not to be mistaken with the Pythagorean theorem. Now, Don, what is the Pythagorean theorem? The Pythagorean theorem is when there's absolutely 0 measurements inside of this triangle, and they give you 3 measurements outside of the triangle that you solve. This is not to be mistaken with the Pythag theorem. Okay, do not mistake it for that. Now that you know that your solvent is in there, what is your tan, your sin, and your cos? Well, this directly relates to your actual vocabulary terms. It is going to be tangent, sine, and cosine. But on your calculator, it's going to be simplified for sin, cos, and tan. Now, this is going to stand for sine, cosine, and tan. And make sure that your mode right here is on... Hold up, let me make sure to turn my calculator on. Make sure that your mode is on degree and not radian before you do this lesson. But otherwise, you will not get the correct measurements, and you will not get it right. Now, we're going to learn how to identify your tangent, your sine, and your cosine, and how it's going to work. And with that, you're going to go ahead and write this down. So, SOHCAHTOA. Now, Don, what is SOHCAHTOA? Well, if you see this, it obviously T relates to tan, S relates to sine, and C relates to cosine. this is going to determine what is going to be on top and on bottom. So for your sine, your opposite angle is going to be over your hypotenuse. And your tangent, your opposite angle, is going to be over your adjacent angle. And for your cosine, your adjacent is going to be over your hypotenuse. Now, how do we know what is which? This is going to be your hypotenuse. Zoom out real quick so y'all guys get a better see. This is going to be your hypotenuse of your triangle. This long side is always going to be bigger than both of these sides single. This is going to be your longer side. Your short side will never be longer than your longer side, and if it is, you have a wonky triangle. So this is going to be short side and long side. Now, breaking down what opposite side and adjacent means so you do not get it wrong. Because I see a lot of people cut the equation down because they don't want to get their opposite and adjacent angles wrong. So let's go ahead and represent this with squares. So let's go ahead and say this is your short side and this is your angle measure. These two are directly next to each other, which is going to make them adjacent angles, which means they are right and next to one another. Now, opposite angles are going to be on opposite sides of the triangle from one another, whether that be from here to here, here to here, okay? It's not going to be from here to here. Don't get that mixed up. There's obviously going to be a reason if it is from here to here. And you will never be solving for this 90 yet again, so don't even worry about that. It shouldn't even be there. And for your hypotenuse, this hypotenuse will always be plugged in for sin or cosine. Tangent does not have a hypotenuse and its problems. So if you go ahead and write down tangent as a little shortcut, you can write has no hypotenuse. Now, Don, I need you to explain this better. I am not understanding it. If that is you, on this case, let me go ahead and show you each side. Let me show you each sort of triangle and how you would solve them and what they are going to look like, because identifying them is half of solving them, because if you get the wrong identification, you're not going to use the right formula and you're not going to solve them correctly. Now, for cosine. Cosine is going to be in a straight line, no matter what. So cosine is usually going to be these three or these three. Now, what do you mean by that? So, obviously, cosine, if you write your hypotenuse is going to be beneath your adjacent angle, as in, whenever you write you can also do this, and that'll help you remember that cosine is your adjacent over your hypotenuse. Now, your adjacent angle is going to be what's next to what you are solving, and obviously your solvent is going to be what you are solving for. So, let's go ahead and say your side is 25, right? And you are solving for this x, and this is a 20-degree angle. Your cosine, since the 20 degree is right there inside of the triangle, you're going to be doing, for the cosine of 20, your hypotenuse is 25, so you're going to put that 25 in the denominator of the equation, and your numerator is going to be x, because that is adjacent to this 20, right? Now, you're going to plug that into your calculator right here, which is going to give you the cosine of 20, and you see you're going to get this radical number. You should usually put this in the 10th degree, so usually this 9 will be rounded up, and you're going to round it up by this 3. Now, 3 is not over 5, so it will obviously round down, and it will be 0.9. Now, ignore all this, I made a typo earlier, so it's going to be 0.9. That is going to be your current cosine of 20. And 25 you will multiply by, because in the numerator you will divide by your numerator will be divided by your cos, but since your numerator isn't here, you will multiply by your denominator. So if you multiply your 0.9 by 25, you are going to get 22.5. Now, is this a really good demonstration on a triangle? it's kind of iffy, because this short side is almost as big as your hypotenuse, but that is still how you would set up and solve the cosine of this triangle. Now, let's move on to something a bit easier, right? Or, still helping y'all guys out. Let's go ahead and put x right here, put your 5 right here, and your 10 right here. Oh my gosh, there's no hypotenuse. So we immediately know this is a tangent, as the cosine is going to be ka, and this is going to have a hypotenuse, and so is also going to have a hypotenuse, so it has to only be tan. If there is no hypotenuse, it is going to be tan. Now, how do you set up a tan? It's going to be toa. Make sure to remember that you're SOHCAHTOA. So toa is going to be your opposite side over your adjacent side. Remember, you only solve for what's in the triangle. So it's going to be the tangent of x is going to be 5 over 10. You see what I did there? Because your opposite of your x is going to be over here on the opposite side of the x, which is going to be this 5, and this 10 is connecting to this x, which is going to make it the adjacent angle. Now, this is a very, very, very special specimen, because whenever you do the tangent of x, you don't just plug in the tangent of x, because you cannot plug in x on a calculator without it being connected to something. So, for this, you're going to do something special. You're going to hit second tangent. And to just put that on the paper to make it a little bit more noticeable, second. It will be second tangent, 5 divided by 10. That is going to give you 88.9. Why? Because that 5 is going to round that up to a 9. So this is going to be 88.9. That is going to solve for that angle right there, 88.9. Now, what about sine? Okay, for sine, you're going to notice with sine, it's going to be not like cosine, because cosine will always form a straight line in angles, whether that be right here or right here. It will never form right here because there is a obvious 90 here. So cosine will always be here, 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 and here, 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 whether it be x is the hypotenuse or whatever. It will always be usually on these sidelines. Now for sine, let's go ahead and say this is your sine problem. This is your x. This is what you will be solving for. So obviously you're solving for x. So your sin is going to be for x. Sin of x is your opposite. Your opposite of your x here will be your 15 over your hypotenuse, which is going to be 25. Remember, whenever you are plugging in an x for any of them, whether it be sine, cosine, or tan, if it is x, you're going to do second sine, second cosine, and second tan whenever you're plugging it into your calculator. So second sine 15 divided by 25, 36.9. So your angle measure is going to be 36.9. That's how you solve for that. Now, new piece of paper, right? Let's do this. Let's do a few more practice problems so y'all guys, really rub in the concept of what a tangent is and your basic rules, okay? I'm going to set up a few practice problems. I want y'all guys to do them, and I'm going to come in after you, and I'm going to check if you got them correct. We're going to have a few difficult problems. I'm going to set up 6 triangles, so y'all are going to stay there. I'm going to pause it, and I'm going to show y'all your 6 triangles that you can solve. You write these down whenever I'm done, and practice trying to solve them so you can actually learn it. Okay, so we set you up some problems here. Okay, so I'm going to show you the problems. I'm going to run you through each one of the numbers are, and I want you to pause this video, write this on a separate sheet of paper, and solve them. So for this one, you have 10 as your short side, x as your angle right here, and 35 as your hypotenuse. For this one, you have 7 as your short side, and x as your angle for this side, and 25 for your hypotenuse. For this one, you have x as your short side, 20 as your angle, and 10 as your hypotenuse. For this one, you have 9 as your short side, 15 as your angle measure, and x as your long side. For this one, you have x as your short side, 50 as your hypotenuse, and 10 as your angle measure. For this one, you're going to have 20 as your hypotenuse, x as your angle measure, and 15 as your long side. This is going to be 17 as your angle measure, x as your hypotenuse, and 12 as your long side. This is going to be x as your short side, 11 as your long side, and 21 as your angle measure. Here's the paper. Okay, now, I'm going to give y'all guys this little break, pause your video, and do this, because I'm about to clip, and I'm going to show you how it's done, but make sure that you actually try to give it an attempt yourself, so you can learn what you did wrong whenever we do this, okay? Okay, done, cut. First, you're going to want to identify what type of triangle they are. So, as you can tell, your cosines, right here, are going to all be adjacent. Every one of them is going to be right next to each other. So if you look through them, you'll see that all of the ones that are cosine will be right next to each other. They'll be in a singular isolated group, and they will all be on the same side of the triangle, likewise. And they're going to be in the same thing that I showed you. The little two lines, they're only going to be on these parts of the triangle. As for your sine, obviously they're not in the little control group, and there's a hypotenuse, and it cannot be tangent, and since they're not in the group, it's not cosine, so it's immediately a sine. As you can see by all these signs we have here, a whole lot of sine, and then tangent does not have a hypotenuse, so you can immediately mark them as tan if they do not have the hypotenuse. Now, make sure to remember your SOHCAHTOA. You know what, Don? Put that on the paper. SOHCAHTOA. So, your ka is going to relate to your cosine, your so is going to relate to your sine, and your toa is going to relate to your tangent. Now, how are we going to set all these up? Obviously, so is going to be opposite over your hypotenuse, and the ka is going to be your adjacent over your hypotenuse, and toa is going to be your opposite over your adjacent. Now, I'm going to set all these equations up, and I'm going to show you where the things go and how it works. Okay, so we just finished setting up our equations. Now, for this one, you're going to get the cos of x. Why are you going to get the cos of x? Because x is the only thing on the inside of the triangle, so it's going to be the immediate solvent of it. So it's going to be the cos of x, 10 over 35. Now, remember, your cos is your ka. So it's going to be SOHCAHTOA. Now, your hypotenuse is on the bottom, as you can see by the 35 being in the corresponding hypotenuse area, because this is your hypotenuse. Your adjacent angle to your x is going to be this 10 right here, which is why it's going to be on top. And again, we're going to go over all the answers after this done. We're just trying to help you identify what triangle it is and where the variables go. And then we'll go over the answers to see if you got them correct. This is going to be a sine. Obviously, it's going to be your opposite over your hypotenuse. We're obviously going to solving for what's inside of the triangle. That's going to be the x. What's the opposite of the x? That's 7. 7 is going to be the opposite of what's on the inside of your triangle. So it's going to be going above that 25. Let me turn up my brightness, because it is being funky. Back to what we were doing. That sine is going to be your opposite over your hypotenuse. Your hypotenuse will always be on the bottom, so that 25 is on the bottom, and that 7 is the only thing that remains, and it's the opposite of that x, so it's going to go above that 25. That's how you're going to set up that equation. For the sine over here, it's going to be the same thing, except for now it is no longer your x. Now you are solving for this 20 in the triangle, so it's going to be the sine of 20. The opposite of your 20 is this x over here. So that x is going to go over your hypotenuse. So it's going to be sine of 20 is x over 10. Again, we're going to explain how to go through this step by step. This is one of the steps. Now, this is 10. Obviously, you see absolutely no hypotenuse. So it's immediately a tangent, because the other ones, the sine and the cosine, have hypotenuses in their equation. So it has to be a tangent. Now, we're only solving, again, remember this is the most important thing you'll learn about trig, because this is the most important thing I learned about trig, and it's helpful for a lot of people. This 15 is what you are solving for, because it is on the inside of the triangle. So it's going to be the tan of 15. What's the opposite of this thing? It's going to be this x. Now, why are we setting up like this? Let's just do one little recap. I know this might be annoying, but this is also going to build up muscle memory. It's going to be your opposite over your adjacent. Your opposite of your 15 right here is going to be that x. So the x is going to go over your adjacent. What's next to that 15? That 9. So that's going to make that 9, that adjacent angle to that 15. It's going to be the tan of 15 is x over 9. Now, over here, you have another sine problem. We've already been over 3 of these now. well, this one being the third one. So you're going to be solving for what's inside the triangle, which is going to be the sine of 10. What's the opposite of this 10? Go ahead and say it for me, y'all. That's right, it's going to be this x right here. So your x is going to go over your hypotenuse, which is going to be 50. So this is how you're going to set up your sine problem for this one. Moving on to our cosine. You see, we already have a triangle that is exactly 3 variables in one straight line. So this is going to be a cosine. So for this one, you're going to put your hypotenuse on the bottom, which is going to be 20. So this is not an adjacent angle to this. Even though it is, it's your hypotenuse. So this is going to be what your adjacent angle is in this equation. So your cosine of your x, since it's on the inside, is 15 over 20. Now, the sine of 17, because this is on the inside of your triangle, the sine of 17, opposite angle, 12 over x. And this is another tangent. We only have 2 tangents on this paper, so we're going to go over this one pretty thoroughly. This is the inside. You're going to be solving for the tangent of 21. Opposite of that 21, this x. So the x is going to go over the adjacent angle to this 21, okay? Now, I'm going to let you guys break cut and solve those problems. Again, the cosine of x is 10 over 35. Sine of x, 7 over 25. Sine of 20, x over 10. Tan of 15, x over 9. Sin of 10, x over 50. Cosine of x, 15 over 20. Sin of 17, 12 over x. Tan of 21, x over 11. Now, we're going to go over what you do, like when you divide, when you multiply, but we're going to let y'all guys do this again because we need you all to build muscle memory, and it's also very helpful to know. Okay, back after solving all of them. Let me get some hydration in my mouth, even though I didn't drink anything. Okay. Your answers are going to be, I'm showing y'all guys this so you can check your answers before I go over it. So your first answer for your cosine is going to be 73.4 because the 3.4 rounds up to that 4. Your second answer is going to be 16.3 because that 6 rounds up to that point. That 0.26 rounds up to that 3. Your next answer, 3.4, because that 2 rounds down. So that 3.2, well, the 4.2, it rounds down to the 3.4. Next one's going to be 2.4. Next one, 8.7. Your next one, 41.1. Next one, 40. And next one, 4.2. Now, this may not be as clear, but we're also going to go over how we got these answers, because you might have done the right thing, but you might have gotten mixed up while plugging it in. Okay. Starting off, we're going to show you something else that is also very important. Tan, cos, and sin. Whenever your x is your variable for any of these, so for instance, equations like this first one, or the second one, or this fourth one, well, not this fourth one, actually, ignore that. So the first, the second, and your first, second, and first and second, you're going to do second, because if your variable ends up being the tan of x, or the sine of x, or the cosine of x, it is going to be second on your calculator. So it's going to be, instead of plugging it in, like, cos of, 8, it's going to be second cos of 8, whatever it is. So you're going to put the second before you put that. So that might have messed some of y'all up. Okay. So whenever you solve for this, if you did the cos of x, which would be second cos x, 10 divided by 35, you will get 73.4 as your final answer, rounding up to tenths. Remember, we're rounding up to tenths. So if you didn't round up to your 10th, round it up, you might have actually been correct, and you might have just not rounded up to your 10th. Now, for your next one, the sine of x, that's going to be second sine of x, 7 divided by 25. Again, we're going to go over this because we need to make sure you do it right if you ever have a test or something. Like second sine. And that's going to make that do that. The opposite side is just this. And if you do the second sine, it'll swap up the equation, and then you do your division. So remember, your second one is 16.3. Your third one is 3.4. So the sine of 20 is going to be not divided. multiplied by 10. If it's down here on the bottom, you're going to multiply your sign by that. So the sign of 20 times 10 will be your answer. If it's here on the top, you're going to divide this by your sign. So it's going to be x divided by your sign. If it, whenever it comes down to that, it'll be your sign divided by that. Your x will never be variable. So the opposite of the x in this will be what you do. So this 10, you're going to multiply this sign of 20 by 10, which is going to give you 3.4, rounded to your nearest tenth. So the tan of 15th is x over 9. So you're going to get the tan of 15, and you're going to multiply it by 9, because the 9 is on the bottom here. You multiply what's on the bottom by the tangent. So you're going to get 2.4 for that. Again, if you need extra lessons, I can help you out, but this is something I struggled with, so I'm trying to teach y'all guys it to the best of my potential. The sine of 10 is x over 50. You're going to get the sine of 10 here, and you're going to multiply it by 50, which is going to give you approximately 8.7 rounded to the nearest tenth. This is going to be your cosine. The cosine of x is 15 over 20. Now, please notice that your cosine is x, which means you're going to do second cosine, and then you're going to be 15 divided by 20. And 15 divided by 20, second cosine 15 divided by 20 is going to give you approximately 41.4, which is going to be your angle degree measure there, because we're solving for the x. Because remember, all of this math right here is solving for your x variable, which is how we're setting it up. Now, the sine of 17 is going to be 12 over x. Please note that this is now over x. This is very important. So it's going to be the sine of 17. Then your answer is going to be what you're dividing 12 by. Now, let me do this on a calculator, because I've also messed this up before. So you do your simple sine problem here, and then you do 12 divided by it to the nearest tenth, which in this equation is going to be 0.3. So it's going to be 12 divided by 0.3. As you can see, this is my math right here. You can see it. So 12 divided by 0.3, we do that down here, is going to give us 40, which is how we got our answer 40. Again, take a look at this math so you maybe can copy it or something. I want to show you guys as much as I can, just in case you don't understand some of it. And then tan. Since you have no hypotenuse, it's going to be tan, obviously. The tan of 21 is going to be x over 11. So you're going to get your tan, and you're going to multiply it by 11, which is going to give you approximately 4.2. Now, I hope this helped y'all. If you learned anything from this, please tell me. I do want to help y'all guys. I might post some more stuff like this. I want to break it down some more. I would like to help y'all guys if you have problems or whatever, you know, because I equally struggle in school. So if I can teach y'all guys something, it helped. It warmed my heart. So without that, y'all, without further ado, we'll see y'all guys in the silly shenanigans of our next video. But until then, Sunshedders, peace out and have a great day.